Bobby Haggart was the longtime trainer of the Toronto Maple Leafs between 1955 and 1968. Prior to that, Haggart got his start with the Toronto Marlborough Juniors from 1950 to 1955, winning the Memorial Cup in 1955. He was part of 4 Stanley Cup celebrations. Haggart later founded the Canadian Athletic Trainers Association and acted as its president. He was the executive director of the 1972 Canada-Russia Series and was a member of the organizing committee for 5 Canada Cups, and he joins us here tonight. Well, we have moved ahead a couple of days to April the 9th, 1959. Bob Haggart is with us as the Leafs prepare for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final against the Montreal Canadiens. We're going to show you third period action from this game. Bobby, you obviously just packed everything up in Boston, got on the train, and headed straight to Montreal. There was no time to come home and celebrate.
When we planned to go to Boston for the 7th game, we told everybody to pack for 5 days because we're going to keep going. And everybody believed in that. And so we packed enough supplies, everybody brought enough clothes, and we had great confidence in ourselves that we could make it to the final.
You know, it's a lot like watching maybe a team like the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim this year that got on a roll, maybe weren't expected to win, but got into the playoffs, got on a roll, got great goaltending, and started to believe in themselves, and it's amazing what that does.
Well, Imlach used to preach, as I've said previously, we're going to win, we're going to make it. But there's an old cliche, and winning breeds confidence, and confidence breeds winning. And once you start that week before the playoffs started in that role where we had to win 5 games and the Rangers and Detroit had to lose, then we put together the 7 games with Boston. Now we're going here. We're believers.
Now, the Montreal Canadiens are at the zenith, maybe, of their success. This team has just got everything and enough Hall of Famers to start their own Hall of Fame.
Well, when you really look closely at the game, it's amazing that the talent and how good they play. Montreal Canadiens was always a myth that they were known as the Flying Frenchmen. But they were also a hockey team, if you look past through the history books, won more games in the playoffs in overtime, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. Not only outstanding offense, but knew how to play 1-0 hockey. And had probably, in his heyday, Montreal had a lot of great goaltenders, but at this point, Plante, I mean, he was beyond himself. I mean, he was so good.
Vezina trophies and everything else just continue to stream out of that dressing room, and they've got great leadership. And the adage in the room about from failing hands we pass the torch for you to hold it high is very adequate.
Oh, absolutely.
From Rishard to Beliveau, and it just moved along.
Well, if you watched in the leader, and everybody says he was a leader, and someone became very similar to him and maybe a little quicker, that was Bobby Orr, but Doug Harvey, if you watch very closely, he controls, it's been said 100 times, he does control a hockey game. And if you watch him behind the net, then he takes it around one side. But the Montreal Canadiens, oh Blake, I used to watch them practice. And if you and I were playing on a line and you were 4 feet in front of me, I had to get the puck up to you. And if you didn't, told Blake could tear your head off. They had manned the puck all the time, all the time, all the time. Therefore, the Flying Frenchmen, they're always on the move. So if you skate to the opening, I'll give it to you. Skate to the opening, I'll give it to you. And that's how they trap a lot of teams.
Puck movement is a lot faster than skating.
Very good.
All right, Bobby Haggart is with us. We're going to move on to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. As we mentioned, we're going to go to third period action. You're watching Molson Canadiens Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
Summarize the scoring now. Canadiens 3 on goals by Henry, Rishard from Mоор and Talbot, Bäckstrem from Provo, and Pronovos from Gojett and Provo. The Leafs, Duff unassisted, Härris from Hортon, and Stewart from Brüuër. And we're all set to go for period number 3.
For the Leafs, Härris at center with Eamon and Mahovlich on the wings. For the Canadiens, it's Mоор, Henry, Rishard, and Bonnell. Long shot deflected into the corner. Härris bumping with Harvey. Mоор, number 12, turning on the boards, gets it out to pocket Rishard. He puts it right on Eamon's stick, and Eamon shoots it off Turner. Turner clearing it ahead. Here's Henry Rishard racing him with Bonnell. The pocket goes in, and his blistering shot was wide by a couple of feet. Mahovlich down at center ice. He hits the Canadian line, and there's a shot off Harvey's stick that ends up in among the spectators. So they start this third period at a very fast tempo, and the score is tied 3-3. Face-off inside the Canadian blue line. Stanley and Hортон moving up for the face-off on the Canadian line. Backhand drive by Mahovlich. Turner to pocket Rishard starting out. He gives it to Bonan. Down with Mоор. Mоор working in on the right side. Passed it back, but there was no one there to get it. Puck in the corner. Harris clearing it. Here's pocket Rishard over to Mоор. A beautiful play by Stanley. Stanley up with Mahovlich. Shoots it wide. That was a terrific defensive play by Stanley as he lunged after that pass and then carried it up. Puck back into Toronto territory. It's Hортon starting out. He cleared it to center. Turner fired it off the boards to Mоор. Put it right on Horton's stick. Up on the right side. Eamon for the Leafs. Clearing it in. He races to the corner. Harvey bumps him on the board. Bonan picks it up for Canadiens. Clearing it to the corner. Mahovlich takes Bonan to the ice heavily. Now Mоор going in against Mahovlich. Mahovlich is down, and Bonan seemed to lunge a blow at him. Mahovlich apparently would like to get near Bonan, but he's being restrained by Morrison.
That, I think, we could say was the first sign of any real bitterness in the game tonight. The two teams have played hard, and there has been a good deal of body checking, but it has been very, very clean. And referee Eddie Powers has taken every precaution to make sure that the game has not gone out of hand. But here we have some penalties. Marcel Bonnet climbing into the penalty box for the Canadiens, and doubtless it'll be Big Frank Mahovlich for the Canadiens. Looking up at our penalty clock, they appear to have a minor penalty each. So that's Bonnet of Canadiens and Mahovlich of the Leafs in the penalty box. They are going to play the next 2 minutes, 5 aside.
À Canadien Marcel Bonnet, 2 minutes pour Rudess. Le temps, 1 minute 28 secondes. The penalties to Toronto, Frank Mahovlich, 2 minutes for high sticking. To Canadien Marcel Bonnet, 2 minutes for roughing. The time, 1 minute and 28 seconds.
Score tied, 3-3 here in the early stages of the third period, and they're playing 5 aside. It's Johnson from his own line, swings a right wing pass to Provo in on the Leaf line. It bounces off Brewer's stick as Brewer broke him up. And again, a mad scramble for a souvenir. Here's the announcement on the corrections in the Canadian goal. Now Donnie Marshall winds up for the shot. Bauer handled it easily. Around the net goes Duff. It's Duff starting out over the line, gathering speed at center, knocked off his stick. Brewer cleared it. Armstrong couldn't hold it. Bond going in on the right side into Canadian territory, takes the shot. The rebound grab by number 14, Provo. Provo played it behind the net to Langlois. They're playing 5 aside. A pass off Duff's stick. It's recovered by Johnson. Canadians at center. A long drive. Bauer leaves it for Bond. Bond taking his time to number 10, Armstrong. Armstrong working his way out of his own zone. Veers over on the left side and gave it to Brewer. And they're playing carefully now as they are playing 5 aside. Nearing the 3rd minute mark in the third period. Provo laid it down on the boards. Brewer to Bond. Bond up on the left wing to Duff. Duff with Armstrong. Duff has the puck going in on the left side. Takes the shot. And the rebound back to the point. That was a hard shot by Duff. Kicked back to the point by Plante. Now Brewer turning at his own line. Fulford is on for the Leafs. Brewer working on the right side. Got away from Langlois. Into the corner. Puts on the brakes on the board. Back it goes to Stewart. Stewart closing in. The rebound goes to Langlois, and Langlois had difficulty controlling it. Now it's to Marshall. Marshall in on the boards, and Fulford tied him up. Bonnet and Mahovlich from the penalty box. They have now 5 seconds remaining as Harvey takes over in his own zone. The score is tied 3-3. Bonnet and Mahovlich are back on. Harvey trying to get the corner. He lost it. Pulford has it in the boards, trying to center it, playing that puck beautifully. Harvey falls down. It's centered by Pulford. Out come the Canadiens. Bonnet couldn't get anywhere, knocked off his stick. Now he cleared it ahead, and the Leafs in possession again. A right wing pass to Stewart. Stewart couldn't get by Turner. And this is a very sharp Toronto team that we're seeing here in the first playoff game. Into the corner, Stanley taking it away from McDonald. McDonald gets it again. And Stanley cleared it up to the point, out over the line to center. Turner to Harvey. Harvey's shot hit his stick. Now it goes to Bäckström, working in on the right side. He still has it. Left it to the side, and that Bauer cleared it. Bäckström and Hортon started to get sticks up in each other. Now it's Pulford at center. Olmsted is trailing. In on the right side goes Pulford. A backhand drive over the top of the net. Olmsted centers it. It's cleared behind. Harvey getting away for Canadiens. Cleared it to McDonald. McDonald in on the boards. In Canadian territory, trying to get out. Hортon stopped it, fired it back in. Now it's Turner. Number 11 for the Canadiens, having difficulty against Stewart, and Turner taken in on the boards. Jeffrey on. Out to center ice with Turner. Turner in on the right wing in Leaf territory. Goes near the corner. He dropped it back. Here's Bäckström turning around. Bäckström trying to get it cleared. He's knocked down by Pulford. And it rolls to the corner. Hортon of the Maple Leafs on the right side. Gives it to Pulford, who backhands it down the ice. It's at Flon's doorstep, and now the Leafs are making changes, and we play 5 minutes and 15 seconds in the third period. Score tied 3-3. Jeffrey on to Bäckström. He's going right in on goal. He shoots. He ends up in the net behind Bauer, and he's having difficulty getting out of the net. Now it's back to Langlois, to Jeffrey on. Langlois to McDonald. He shot right on, and a great save by Bauer. They scoop away at it. It's off the board. It went up on the ledge, and the play is stopped. It looked like Bäckström was going to get right in there for the goal, but instead he ended up in the net. So now we near the 8-minute mark in the third period, and the score is all tied at 3-3. And the face-off off the boards. Gojett loses it to Duff, who cleared it to Stanley. Stanley around the Leaf net. Being watched by Gojett. Plays it to Hортon. Out to Armstrong. Turner on the board, stopped Armstrong. They jammed in there just to the left of the Leafs players bench. And linesman George Hayes, number 9, moves in there, and they line up for the face-off now up the Leaf blue line. Gojett and Creighton. Turner scooped it in on the left wing. Turner and Armstrong going off. I believe.
The penalties to Toronto, George Armstrong. To Canadien, Bob Turner, 2 minutes each for high sticking. The time, 7 minutes.
Provo winds up, and oh, a great skate save by Bowers. Provo drilled that one. Now they're playing 5 aside. Pulford leaves it for Hортon, who got away from Provo, starting out of his own line. Down fast at center, taken out of the play by Provo, who went slamming into the boards. Here's Donnie Marshall, ahead to Provo. Stopped by Stanley, who was playing an outstanding game in that Leaf defense tonight. Stanley rolled it in, and Stewart is offside on the play. Last year, Stanley was in the finals with the Bruins, was then sent to the Leafs, and for a while, he probably thought he wasn't going to see playoff hockey, but here he is, the star in the Stanley Cup Finals again this year.
And he's out of there, taking a rest now, and a well-deserved rest, as Punch Hemlock tries to keep fresh hockey players out there. Henry Rishard has replaced Claude Provo, and here we are going again.
Minute and 32 seconds remaining in the penalties to Turner and Armstrong. Brewer, number 18, around Bauer, swings away from pocket Rishard. At center ice to the Canadian line. Brewer trying to get in there, shoveled it ahead. Now Donnie Marshall playing it on the boards as he was upset. Henry Rishard working around the net once again, being watched by Stewart. Now the pocket leaves it for Talbot. Talbot on the right side, back through center ice to the Leaf line. A pass over to Henry Rishard. He dropped it back to Donnie Marshall. Here's Pulford getting a breakaway. Johnson back. Pulford going in on the right side, a backhand drive. and Plant's got his left gloved hand on it. Canadians starting down on the line. Henry Rishard across the line and back skating Stewart. There's a pass to Donnie Marshall, to Henry Rishard. Pocket trying to get in front, loses it, gets it again, back to Talbot. A shot goes off Stewart's leg toward the corner, and Breuer covering up for the Leafs in around Bauer. We have 11 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in regulation time. Score tied 3-3. Creighton coming down with Dickie Дафф. Creighton trying to get away from Talbot. It's cleared into the corner to Harvey. Harvey knocked down by Creighton. Pocket Rishard on the boards into Harvey in the corner, and now the penalized players are getting set to come back on. They're back on. Armstrong of the Leafs and Turner of the Canadiens. Harvey is just waiting, slides a pass to Turner. His pass off Дафф, he gets it again. Off the left wing boards, and Armstrong is there for Toronto. There's a pass to Creighton, and he almost got in the clear. Creighton on the boards, gives it to Дафф. Дафф a pass intended for Armstrong. Back to the line. Stanley cleared it in, a backhand drive right on by Armstrong, and Plant was there to grab it because Дафф was right on his doorstep.
Some of the best saves made by the goaltenders tonight have been on sliding screen shots. Plant has made 2 or 3. Bauer has been spectacular, particularly on one from the stick of Ab McDonald early in the third period. It was about a 40-footer, and I think Bauer was the only one in the rink that saw it.
Score tied 3-3. 10 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Here's Jeffrey on going in. Takes the shot. It's juggled and then cleared by Bauer. Jeffrey on trying to center it. McDonald turning in on the boards. Nailed and knocked down by Stanley. Jeffrey on centers it. It's cleared back by Houghton. Creighton firing it on the boards to Armstrong. Creighton gets it back again. There's a long pass deflected by Doug Harvey. Harvey working toward the Leaf defense. Going in, he dropped it back to McDonald. McDonald going in for the shot. And it's grabbed by Bauer as Armstrong and McDonald slashed at each other. Now the Leafs on the right wing. Eamon shoots it in, stopped at the side by Plant. Score tied 3-3 with 9 minutes and 25 seconds remaining in the third period. Harvey over to Provo. Going in on that right side. Here's Provo from the corner, knocked in on the boards heavily by Breuer. It's centered out, a backhand drive. And Harris starting out for the Leafs. At center ice with Eamon and Mahovlich. Over to Mahovlich going in for the shot. Oh, a loose puck in front of the net. And Mahovlich missed by inches.
And another save by Plant, hanging on to that rebound right in the crease. And guess who was there? Jerry Eamon, the fellow that has possibly been more responsible than any other for the Leafs being in this final with his big 6 goals against Boston. He was standing right there, and if Plant had given him that least little bit of advantage, it's possible that it could have been in.
And now the crowd is hollering, "We want Rocket, we want Rocket." I think that's what it is. Well, they're chanting something over there. Frank, you find out what they're chanting. So now they center off in the center ice area, face off in that spot. Harris and Pocket Rishard. It's Moore, Pocket, Bonin. Mahovlich, Harris, and Eamon for the Leafs. Less than 9 minutes now as they pile in the corner, and finally Pocket Rishard. It's loose in front of the net, and it was flipped out by Harris, but there was no one there to get it. Here's Pocket Rishard going in on the right side. He still has it. A backhand drive, and Bond was in front of it. Now Bonin going in, lost his balance, and the Leafs cleared up over the line. Eamon at center, going in with Harris, who takes the pass, trying to get in front, and the Canadiens clear. Here's Bonin. Down to the Leaf line, and Stanley ahead to Eamon. Eamon backhanding it into the Canadian territory, and the Leafs are changing as the play goes on. Now Doug Harvey rushing for the Canadiens in fast on the right side. A pass to Pocket Rishard, a backhand drive, he scores! short side by Pocket Rishard appeared to be touched by Bonin. We'll wait for the announcement, but from here it looked as if Bonin got his stick on it, and it just trickled in between the goalie Bauer and the post. Bonin.
Assisté de Henri Rishard et Harvey. Le temps, 11 minutes, 59 secondes.
A beautiful play by Doug Harvey.
Assist, Henri Rishard and Harvey. The time, 11 minutes and 59 seconds.
11 minutes and 59 seconds. Bonin from Pocket, Rishard, and Harvey. Canadians are leading 4-3. Now at center ice, Fulford bumped Bäckström, and Talbot takes over in his own zone, and now you can expect an all-out attack offensively here by the Leafs, looking for the equalizer. It's been a hard-fought game, very little to choose between the teams. In the scoring department right now, the Canadians have the advantage by 1 goal, leading 4-3. Now Talbot going in on the right side. The Leaf line, a pass to Bäckström. He bumps in on the boards with Stewart. They fight there for possession. It goes to Talbot, a shot, the rebound. And Stanley takes over for the Leafs. Laid it on the boards to center, and the Canadians fire it back in. Olmsted backhands it into Canadian territory. Fulford and Stewart going in along with Olmsted. Olmsted to the corner, trying to center it out. Talbot is after him, and they hold it on the board. Leafs every man up for the face-off. Doug Harvey getting the draw, working out. He's across the line at center with Pronovot and Provost. Across the Leaf line, a drop pass to Pronovot, shot right on. And Bauer cleared into the corner. Harvey playing an outstanding game for the Canadians. Now Dик Daffe at center ice. Going to the Canadian line, rolled it ahead, and Provost takes it right in front of the open net and cleared it to the corner. Leafs trying to get possession. There's a pass out on the right wing. It goes to center. Brewer to Duff. Duff his body, takes the shot around the net. And now it's Turner for the Canadians, working his way out. Montreal leading 4-3 in the third period. Turner down with Provost and Gojett. A drop pass to Provost. He rolled it in front as he was upended. Now the Leafs clearing at the center, and again it's Turner for Canadians to Provost on the right side. Gojett picks up a loose puck going in. His body falls down. Here's Pronovot, and he couldn't get the shot as Armstrong cleared it away. There's going to be a penalty. Bobby Bond going off. Pronovot almost got in the clear, but just as he was ready to put the blade of his stick on the puck, Armstrong cleared it away. Bond for tripping.
And it seems no matter what the Canadians do, as soon as they score a goal, the Maple Leafs come right back. And we are getting a very good sample of the determined, courageous hockey that the Maple Leafs played against the Boston Bruins to eliminate that club in the semifinal round. They are 1 goal behind here, but they're still going, and this game is far from over.
Toronto penalty, Bob Bond, 2 minutes for kneeing. The time, 14 minutes and 7 seconds.
14 minutes and 7 seconds, the time of the kneeing penalty to Bond of the Leafs. Canadians with now Talbot trying to clear it in against Fulford. Fulford gets it for the Leafs, gives it to Stewart, who fires it down the ice, and Johnson is back for the Canadians. It's Moore, Pocket, Rishard, and Bonin up front. Talbot and Johnson on defense. Stewart and Fulford, the penalty killers for the Leafs, is Pocket, Rishard coming in. Takes the shot, and Bauer did the splits. Back to the point. Here's Moore turning around. He gives it to Johnson, closing in for the shot. And a great grab in front by Houghton. Fulford and Moore shoved each other. Face off to the left of Bauer. We have 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in regulation time. Canadians are leading the Leafs 4-3. Minute and 25 seconds remaining in the penalty to Bond. The face-off, it's tipped back to Talbot. There's a bouncing shot. Bauer scooped it to the corner. Pocket Rishard getting it back to the line. No one there to get it. And it goes down into Canadian territory. Talbot to Moore. Moore over on the left wing. Fulford, number 20, skates in for the Leafs. Cuts around the net. Loses it to Bonin. Bonin working from the side. He sent it right over in front to Moore. Oh! Dickie Moore from Bonin to make it 5-3 for the Canadiens over the Leafs.
And that goal on the power play took a long time coming. The penalty to Bond was the 7th to the Maple Leafs, and Canadiens very ineffective earlier in the game during the manpower advantage. Finally, on this 7th attempt, came through. Dickie Moore scoring his 4th goal of the playoffs this spring. And that, by the way, gives him the lead in points in the playoffs. 4 goals and 10 assists for 14 points.
Less than 5 minutes remaining in regulation time. 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Bonin on the left side to Henry Rishard. He dropped it back. Now it's Bonin again on the boards, getting clear of Eamon. Over to Moore. There's a screen shot. And it hit Breuer. A pass to Moore. Back it goes to Turner. Closing in for the shot, and he missed the far corner. Canadiens have the pressure. There's Moore. Shot right on. And Bauer is down. Now it's Bond. And I think the pocket. Pocket, Richard, and Bond. Swapping punches in front, but they didn't swap very many because they really tied each other up. And now they're trying to pry them apart. Well, that's broken up. And we'll have some penalties. 5-3 the score for Canadiens. This has been quite a game. These two teams have battled, and taking what has happened into consideration in this game tonight, and if it is any indication, this is going to be some series. Two very evenly matched teams, at least based on tonight's performances. Frank, I need every respite.
Well, we have one here, Danny, in the form of a telegram which has just arrived, and it says, "Hope your voice holds out so we can hear Toronto win." And it's signed the boys at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. They may have to wait for another night because with less than 4 minutes remaining here, Canadiens have a 2-goal lead, and of course this is far from insurmountable at this stage of any game. But it would look now as though the Canadiens perhaps have taken a little bit of an edge, which they will certainly try to protect with all of their power. And there goes Henry Rishard to the Canadiens dressing room. That would indicate a major penalty for the infraction, which will very likely be announced in just a matter of seconds. It's up on the board now. Major penalties to both players, and they, of course, are out for the rest of the game.
Les punitions. À Toronto, Bob Bond, à Canadien Henri Rishard, 5 minutes chacun pour s'être battu. Le temps, 15 minutes 32 secondes. The penalties to Toronto, Bob Bond, to Canadien Henri Rishard, 5 minutes each for fighting. The time, 15 minutes and 32 seconds.
So Bond has gone to the Leafs dressing room and the pocket to the Canadiens dressing room. They line up for the face-off outside the Leaf line, and we have exactly now 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in this, the third period. Canadiens are leading by a score of 5-3. Here's Hортon coming out, clears a pass. Fulford gets it finally. Couldn't fire it in over the line. Hортon starting in for the Leafs on the left wing to number 9, Duff. Duff fires a shot to the goal mouth, and Flaunt smothers it. Next game in the series here at the Forum in Montreal Saturday night. And don't forget at the end, Tom Foley will be back. And you'll have the 3-star selections. Gordy, how on tonight, Frank?
I think he is, Danny, and I believe that we're going to have Gordy with us all through the series.
Now it's back. Hортon gives it to Olmsted, a screen shot down on the ice in front of Flaunt. Tom Johnson, I think, number 10. There he is. And it was he who smothered. Playing 5 aside, and of course nobody among this capacity crowd of something over 14,000 leaving the rink as yet. Fulford facing off against Marshall. Talbot, number 17, swings around the net. Olmsted going in after him, and Talbot falls to his knees, and the play is stopped once again for a face-off in deep Canadian territory.
Big Bird Olmsted playing his 94th NHL playoff game tonight. Oddly enough, all but 8 of those were with the Canadiens. You'll recall, of course, that he was a star with Canadiens for many years and has now, in the livery of the Maple Leafs, turned out to be a great spark for that basically young club. His experience has paid off for them.
Leafs every man up for the draw, rolls across the goal mouth. Hортon goes to the corner on the boards, jammed in on the boards by Talbot. He centers it out at his side of the net. Now they fight for it. And Plant, almost falling back into the net, held it against the goal post. Provo fell down. And there was a good explanation why Provo was on the ice. He ran into a fellow by the name of George Hayes, and George is well over 200 pounds.
Provo looked up and wondered where was the maple leaf on the front of the sweater. But Big George has on the striped one of the NHL officiating staff, and he, Bill Morrison, and referee Eddie Powers have handled this game flawlessly tonight.
Billy Harris, number 15, goes to center, facing off against Gojett. They're still playing 5 aside. Just over 3 minutes remaining in regulation time. Turner goes to the corner against Eamon. He gives it to Phil Gojett. Canadiens are leading 5-3. Gojett to the leaf line. He's working right in on goal. And it was hooked away by Mahovlich. A neat play by Gojett, and Mahovlich took it from him. Now it's Eamon going down, runs into Harvey. Harvey falls down but ties up his man. It's cleared in from the point by Mahovlich. Offside. And they line up for the face-off at the Canadian blue line. 5-3. Canadians leading. It was 2-2 at the end of the first. 3-3 at the end of the second, and Montreal coming up with 2 goals by Bonnet and Moore in the third period. Armstrong firing it off to the corner. Harvey covering up for Montreal around the net. Now he's knocked down by Harris. Let's see. He seemed to be speared by Harris. Play is stopped. Harvey is feeling his face. Armstrong moves in for the Leafs. He's the captain. Powers talking to his linesman. Doug Harvey went down, and the referee conferring with Hayes and Morris. So Punch Imlock is sending out refreshment. Fresh forces here, and there's going to be a penalty to Harris. Let's see, will it be a minor, or did he draw blood for a major? I think it's a minor for hooking, and a misconduct, I believe. Harris, I believe, is going to get a misconduct, and the Leafs are infuriated over that call by Powers after he had conferred with his linesman. He indicated a minor hooking penalty, I think, Frank, and if I could see it from here, I think also misconduct. Now Powers is laying down the law to Armstrong, captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Toronto penalty, Billy Harris, 2 minutes for hooking and 10 minutes misconduct. The time, 16 minutes and 54 seconds.
Imlock is unhappy. Hollers out something toward referee Eddie Powers, who is skating away now from in front of the Leafs players bench, or perhaps Imlock was talking to George Armstrong, the captain, who now has moved in. So Canadiens will have the odd man advantage as they play 5 against the Leafs 4. Powers off with a minor and a misconduct. And the question now, Powers wants somebody to sit in the penalty box, apparently. And now he's putting the watch on Armstrong, who skates back to the Leafs players bench, Imlock. And it looks like Noel Price, number 23, will serve the penalty. Imlock is having a discussion with Fulford. Puck is dropped off the Leaf center being there. Mоор cleared it back. Bonin to Mоор. Over to Johnson. Johnson hits the Leaf line. Gives it to Dickie Mоор. To Bonin. Off his stick. He's knocked down by Hортон. Now Hортon starting out for the Leafs with Fulford. To the Canadian line. A backhand drive. The rebound. And Plante cleared it to the corner. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in regulation time. Canadians are leading the Leafs 5-3. Canadians have the odd man advantage. Now Mоор winds up, slides the shot, deflected into the corner by Bauer. Toronto Maple Leafs, Hортon firing it back to Breuer. Breuer in the corner being watched. He gets a pass to Hортon. Into center ice to Fulford. And now the Leafs at center. To the Canadian line. Fulford takes the shot. Goes to the corner, gets it again, centers it in front. And it was stopped there by Talbot. Talbot playing it on the boards into the center ice area. And we have 1 minute and 58 seconds remaining. 5-3 for the Canadians. Hортon circling around, waiting for Duff to get onside. Gives it to Breuer, stepping in on that left side, works over on the other wing, a backhand drive, and it rolled by the open corner as Plante didn't see it. Now on the left wing, Canadians out at center ice. Talbot circling around, taking his time. Canadians are making changes as the play goes on, and Talbot did a fine job of just skating around with that puck. Now it's Provost, down on the right wing, to the Leaf line, takes the hard shot waist high, and Bauer holds on.
As a result of the major penalties to Henry Rishard and Bobby Bond, the game has slowed down now and has not had in the last few minutes the fire and drive which predominated throughout the first 55 minutes or so. And as we come up now to the final minute of play, it's expected that the tempo will die down even more as Canadians attempt to check the Leafs here in the final minute and make sure of this opening game victory here in the first game of the 1959 Stanley Cup Finals. We're just about ready to go. Marshall and Olmsted will face off, and here is Denny.
Now they face off to the left of Bauer. Olmsted cleared it right on Provost's stick, but he fell down, rolled it in, and Olmsted takes it to the corner against Donnie Marshall. Just over a minute remaining. Canadians leading 5-3. They have the odd man advantage. Olmsted fired it up. Havlich couldn't reach it. Now the penalty to Härrис has expired. And the Leafs are called for icing. And we have exactly 1 minute remaining in the third period. And they swing back in Toronto territory for the face-off. And now many of the big crowd are beginning to move. 58 seconds to be exact remaining in the third period. Donnie Marshall facing off against Olmsted. Now Stewart working his way out on the right wing to Eamon. Eamon coming down with Havlich across the line. Eamon going in and getting in front of it is Harvey. The puck is picked up by Provo. He's away with Marshall. Across the Toronto line and a good poke check there by Olmsted. Now Eamon to Olmsted. Coming out over the line, up on the left wing, it goes to Stewart. He cleared it in. And Turner covering up for Canadians around the net with 30 seconds remaining. Into the corner, Marshall lining up from the corner for a pass, played it on the boards. Down the ice it goes. Here's Provo going in on the right side. He's going right in and goes, shoots from the short side, and Bauer got in front of it. Now there are 15 seconds remaining. Olmsted picking his way out on the right side to Eamon. A pass off Provo's skate, and Harvey takes it around the net. 4 seconds remaining. Canadians leading 5-3. Harvey out on the right wing to Provo. The game is over, and the Canadians defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-3 in the opener.
Two coaches who are on the sidelines after losing in the semifinals. Rudy Pillis in Chicago and Milt Schmidt in Boston are standing by as the Maple Leafs have been beaten by the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 5-3 in Game 1. Let's go to Tom Polk.
To my immediate right is Rudy Pillis, the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, and beside Rudy we have Milt Schmidt, the coach of the Boston Bruins. They are the most recently inactive coaches in the league, and Rudy, I was just thinking, the last time I saw you was in the Chicago Stadium, and things were whizzing about my ears at a great rate, and you had a hammerlock in yourself, and you were jumping up and down. You're looking much more relaxed tonight.
Well, naturally, time heals everything, Tom, and at that particular time, we were in the dying minutes of what was a very thrilling game, and naturally, on a play like what had happened in Chicago, and 19,000 people urging you on and do or die for dear old Blackhawks, why, you can never tell what happens behind that player's bench. But however, as I said before, time heals everything, and I thought the only cool person in the building was Red Story himself and his two linesmen, believe me. And when Red gives you that dead eye and he looks straight at you, and regardless of how much you're talking and ranting and raving, why, he just gives you that straight glare, and gradually he hypnotizes you to the point you either shut up or the next thing to it. And of course, as you know, we soon quietened down, and he got control and got the game on.
I don't know how a club can get in a World Championship final and be 4-1 underdogs, but I'm told that is the case. Now, Milt, they have been called the team of destiny. Imlach is waving a magic wand, and they're doing remarkable things. Is that true, or are they just a plain ordinary good hockey club?
Tom, all I can say is that I wish I had that Imlach's crystal ball. It certainly has been paying off dividends, but all in all, let's give due credit to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Punch has done a tremendous job with them. He has instilled a lot of determination and that will to win into them. And as a matter of fact, those players that are on the Toronto club right at the present time, they just don't know what the word lose means. And that's what they're doing right now. They played tremendously against us. They were a great hockey club. And I have to bow down to them because all in all, it might hurt me to say it, but they were the better club in the series. But I sincerely think that probably the deciding point in the whole series was the fourth game in Toronto when Bauer come up with a terrific save off of Vic Stasiak in the overtime period. And I think that was the big save, and I think that's what won the series for them. But still, all in all, I must give them a great deal of credit. They were the better club.
Rudy, the word was in the early stages of your series against Montreal that you were playing it, let's say, a bit on the cozy side. You weren't going to take too many chances. You had Skov checking Beliveau. I don't know whether that was a correct assessment or not, but you've played the Canadiens 6 games. What advice would you give Punch Imlach?
Well, just keep on going the way it's going right now, because I'll tell you, as I saw it, after they got off their first game of Stanley Cup final stage fight, so to speak, when the Canadiens powdered that first one in the net, and then they took poise and confidence, and for the rest of the period it looked to me that they gained momentum over the Canadiens in that period, and I thought they were skating stronger and checking harder than the Canadiens were. Now, they may come on again, but insofar as our series is concerned, Tom, we thought it best to check Beliveau, and I believe any coach in the National League would think so also. However, in Montreal, as you know, they have the advantage of deciding who to play against your starting lineup, and therefore it didn't work near as well. Where in Chicago, we had the advantage and naturally worked real well, and we checked their big line, and as you know, did very well right in Chicago. They're a tough club to handle, and naturally we had to play a close checking game to their big guns. We couldn't skate wide open, although we never played a defensive game. We checked Beliveau, and that was decided on, but the rest of the club was never asked to do any more than look after their end of their work.
What are these coaches doing tonight? Is there anything special going on out there, Milt?
Well, I can imagine, Tom, right now that probably just as soon as the period was over that Punch and Tull would probably let his warriors just rest for a few minutes to let them get their breath and just to quiet down for a minute or two, because I feel that if you start talking to your players immediately when a tough period is over, why, it doesn't take hold. So you got to let them rest for a few minutes, and then after that, after they've regained their strength and their wind, etc., why, then you can start talking to them. But besides that, I know that right now my hands are perfectly dry, and I know that Punch's and Toes' hands are very, very wet right at the present time. They're probably pacing up and down that dressing room right at the present time, talking to the players and saying this and that, and it's quite interesting. It's too bad that all the fans that are watching tonight, gee, if occasionally they could go into a dressing room and see the hockey players just to how they react in a game like this, they'd get a great thrill out of it.
because they're all keyed up, and gee, they all want to win. They're encouraging one another, and it really is something to see.
See any special strategy going on out there? Do you think, Rudy, that Imlach is trying anything special? Is he going to try and skate all out with this club?
No, I don't think they've used any particular type of strategy to check any particular player out there. I think they're playing line for line, and I think Punch himself is quite confident, and the players are very confident. They're skating with confidence out there, to the fact that they've surged up into the Stanley Cup playoffs in the past month, and they don't need anything else but a lot of heart, and they seem to have that tonight. And they're skating real hard, real strong, and playing smart hockey. I don't think the Canadians look near as sharp in this past period as I have seen them skate against us, believe me. But who can tell that they may realize it themselves if they're not going, and a fellow like Dickie Moore, if he starts to handle that puck and move quite well, I don't think he'll give it away anymore like he did this particular period.
I noticed, Rudy, bringing up Dickie Moore and Breuer, the defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they both have the same moves. They'll shake their head, you know, they'll be making that fake, but unfortunately for the Toronto, the Canadians haven't been going for that fake with Breuer, and they've been catching him in his own zone, and fortunately haven't been scored on, but it's been awful close.
Yes, I noticed that, and I noticed two things that I think you'll agree with me, Milt, in the respect of 2 goals being scored by 2 handy little hockey players, and they certainly handled the puck nifty and made hockey what it is today when goals are scored like it. When Dik Daฟwalked in on Plant, and Plant made the wrong guess, and as Gordon Howe says, Plant looked like he went for the lumber in the straightaway, and it just wasn't there.
I was sitting right behind the net, and I saw it. Dick really made a beautiful move on it.
And then I thought the handling of the puck by Ralph Bäckström and deking out the goalkeeper, Bauer, why, it was a nifty goal, and certainly was applauded roundly in Montreal, as you know, when goals are scored.
Okay, gentlemen, on that happy note, I think we can conclude our analysis by the 2 semifinalist coaches, Milt Schmidt of Boston, Rudy Pillis of Chicago.
It's April 9th, 1959. The Leafs have lost to the Canadiens in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. You're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.